The sexiest phone in the world. Now that's what Gionee has to say about its slimmest phone, the Elife S5.1. Now the first thing to notice about the phone is the thickness, or thinness if there is such a word. The phone is about 5.1 mm thin and is among the thinnest phones in the world. Now this is not the first time for Gionee though. Their first attempt at making a slim phone was the S5.5, which we have reviewed. Is the S5.1 a worthy successor? Let's find out. Starting with the box. The box in which the device is shipped is slim and long, just like the phone. Now these are the contents of the box. You get the standard charger, the micro USB detachable cable, and a set of in-ear headphones. In the box, Gionee has also provided quite a lot of freebies. Now you have the flip cover. The flip cover is something very common with Samsung phones now. Lots of people prefer that. So Gionee has provided that in the box. Now if you're not a big fan of the flip covers, Gionee has also provided a plastic case for the phone. Now you don't have to go around looking for one. That is provided in the box. Now just to make sure that you don't destroy this beautiful phone, they've also provided screen protectors and back protectors, because there is glass on the front and the back. So you've got two sets of front screen protectors and two sets of glass protectors for the back. Now this phone comes with 16 GB of inbuilt storage, and there's no micro SD card slot for expansion. So they've also given a USB OTG cable, which will be helpful in case you need to attach a pen drive to it. And other than that, you also have a SIM removal tool. Gionee has ensured that every possible accessory is provided in the box, and they get brownie points for it. The design of the phone is quite similar to that of the S5.5, and it may look like an iPhone from a distance. The phone has a metallic trim and has chamfered edges, making it easy to hold. Despite the device being slimmer than the iPhone 6, it wasn't slippery to hold. Dimensions aside, Gionee has also managed to keep the weight down. The phone weighs only 98 grams, and even after putting it in my pocket, I had to keep checking if it is still there. The S5.1 has a 4.8-inch display with a resolution of 1280 by 720 pixels. Now it is a Super AMOLED display and has good viewing angles. The colors are accurate and the overall output is vivid. Now there's also Gorilla Glass protection to protect the display from scratches. I like the display on the S5.5, and the one on the 5.1 is no different. But there has been a drop in the screen size from 5 inches to 4.8 inches, and a drop in the resolution as well from 1080p to 720p. But it is not worrisome. We have seen phones like the Xperia Z3 Compact, which had a brilliant display, and it was a 720p panel. The device is powered by a 1.7 GHz octa-core MediaTek processor, and it has 1 GB of RAM. The S5.5 and the S5.1 have the same processor, but the 5.1 has got 1 GB of RAM only. Now the S5.5 had 2 GB of RAM. The performance is decent and adequate for a moderate user. Now with only a couple of apps loaded on the phone, you can see that the phone roughly has around 123 MB available. That is quite shocking. There's only a couple of apps that are installed. Now Gionee has also provided an option to free up the RAM, and it's inbuilt because they know the RAM is not enough, so they've given a mechanism which will clear up the RAM when you need the phone to be fast. Now even after doing this, it manages to clog the RAM up again. Now we've got something around 250 MB. Now it shows around 300 MB left. Now, for a heavy user, the low RAM may result in slight delays. Now coming to the camera is an 8 megapixel sensor with an LED flash. The 5.5 had a raised camera sensor which didn't look all that great, but for the 5.1 the camera sits plush, and for the design it looks much better. So there are a couple of modes to play with in the given app, and there are a lot of additional settings that Gionee has given with it. This is the stock camera interface. There are not a lot of functions to play with, but keeping in mind, they've also given another app which is inbuilt, and you have option for face beauty, makeup. I don't know who's going to use it, but stamps, PPT. You can also make a PPT out of it. So this is quite helpful if you are the kind who would like to customize your photos before uploading it on social networks or sending it to someone. You might find this useful. The phone has a 5 megapixel front facing camera for people who like clicking selfies. The rear camera is capable of recording 1080p videos, while the front facing camera is capable of doing HD video. Now that is 720p. Gionee has gone ahead with their Amigo UI, which is running on top of Android 4.4 KitKat, as we know. Now the way the UI looks is highly subjective, but honestly I prefer stock Android to this UI. It is simple and easy to use, but it does not have the app drawer that some of us might be used to. All the apps are available on the home screen and might confuse people who are used to the typical Android interface, where you put all the app shortcuts on the home screen and there's a separate drawer when you press the launcher button. The UI has very vibrant colors. As you can see, for the icons they've selected very vibrant colors, and the AMOLED display really makes these colors pop. The phone, instead of having on-screen buttons, it has got capacitive touch buttons below the display, and they are arranged differently from most Android phones. What Gionee could have done is given on-screen buttons and maybe increase the size of the screen and provide full HD display. That would have been better. One problem we noticed with the buttons was that the backlight switches off after a fixed interval of time, even with the display on. And the backlight comes on only when the buttons are touched, and finding these buttons are a pain in the dark. Now with the white colored phone, it's really hard to make out if these buttons are illuminated or not in the first place. Only when the room is pitch dark, that is when you can see these buttons illuminate. Audio. I wasn't expecting much from the phone in the first place. Now to keep the thickness down, Gionee might have used the slimmest speaker unit available. Music playback is good, but the speaker is average. Now the stock music player also has an option of DTS. Now this enhances the music experience on both the speaker and the headphones. Now the bundled headphones that are provided in the box are the in-ear type, and there's also an inline microphone present, but sadly we didn't find interchangeable silicone tips. Now this might not be comfortable for everyone to use, and Gionee should have provided different sizes of silicone tips. Now the headphones have flat cables, and because of which they are tangle free, so that is one thing you don't need to worry about. Now the sound quality of these headphones is good, and you can tweak the output with the DTS setting on the music player. Now we found one problem when we are playing music. The phone sits flat on a plain surface and the speaker gets muffled as a result. You can see when you are doing this. Now phones generally have a tab to light. Phones generally have a tab to slightly raise the speaker up, but Gionee has, I think, managed to skip that. So this causes the sound to get muffled. Now the phone comes with 16 GB of internal storage, similar to the older S5.5. The storage is limited and it cannot be increased as there is no SD card slots available on the device. Now it isn't a deal breaker, and the storage should be enough for most. As you can see here, out of the 16 GB, 9.75 GB is available to the user, whereas 6.25 GB is reserved for the system. Now as we've seen before, Gionee has also provided an OTG cable in the box, and with this you can connect a pen drive to the phone directly, increasing the storage on the phone. Now the battery is a 2050 mAh unit. The battery capacity might have been compromised to make this phone slim. Gionee has thought about it and has given battery saving modes to help the battery last longer. Now when the phone is idle, the phone will switch between 1 or 2 cores based on the load that it currently has. This is quite handy when you have less battery capacity and a really powerful processor. Now the charger provided in the box has a 1 amp output, and because of which it charges the phone really fast. Based on my usage, the phone could go on for 1 day without requiring any additional charge, and at the same time I also had the Bluetooth constantly on paired to a smartwatch. Now what's the verdict on this one? Gionee has made one of the slimmest phones in the market. It isn't easy to shrink the phone down while maintaining performance. The phone does manage to catch some eyeballs with its incredibly slim body and striking gold frame. It might just pass off as an iPhone if you hide the branding at the back. The phone is priced around 18,000 rupees, and we think it's a good buy if you want a phone for the way it looks. Now the alternative to this phone is the Lenovo Vibe X2, which is priced around 20,000 rupees, And what it does better is it's only slightly thicker, but it has a 5-inch display which is full HD and has a 2 GHz processor with 2 GB RAM. So if you want a powerhouse, you can go for the Lenovo, but if you want a stylish phone, I think this phone beats everything hands down in the 20,000 rupees segment. So this was our review of the S5.1.